Why does the exact moment you achieve absolute geographic flexibility mark the precise day your long-term wealth velocity slows down? You open your laptop in a low-cost paradise, fully convinced you have successfully outsmarted the modern corporate workspace optimization system. Instead of maximizing personal savings, you have unknowingly stepped directly into a highly sophisticated corporate structural drag designed for knowledge workers. Enterprise payroll algorithms are silently working behind your screen to recalibrate your total baseline value based entirely on your current zip code. This systemic recalibration quietly strips away your compounding retirement runway while your mind remains completely fixated on short-term, everyday living costs. The widespread cognitive bias of geographical arbitrage convinces workers that a cheaper environment automatically guarantees accelerated, long-term personal wealth building. This mental blind spot allows enterprise employers to shift localized operational expenses directly onto the individual under the guise of lifestyle autonomy. While your nominal compensation appears adequate, the underlying structural asymmetry ensures that your net asset velocity fails to match global inflation. By adjusting your compensation downward based on geography, companies extract premium margins while offloading permanent asset infrastructure and liability. To understand this economic shift, we must analyze the specific mechanics of geographic pay cut metrics deployed by modern human resource departments. Modern freelance gig economy tools reveal how corporate entities systematically transfer standard commercial liabilities into the remote agent's personal financial ledger. Traditional office overhead costs, healthcare liabilities, and local payroll tax burdens are completely erased from the enterprise balance sheet layout entirely. These structural expenses do not disappear, but rather fragment into decentralized costs that silently attach themselves to your independent contractor compliance. When an employer implements a 25% geographic pay adjustment, they are capitalizing on your desire for flexibility to maximize corporate retention. You become responsible for your own international tax planning and independent contractor compliance tools, creating a continuous drain on your time. The flawed system tricks you into working identical hours for less capital, while absorbing all localized macroeconomic risks onto your family. This structural divergence accelerates a massive wealth transfer from individual knowledge workers directly into enterprise equity holders and corporate savings pools. By accepting lower base compensation, your future leverage is mathematically compromised, since future career adjustments are calculated from this deflated baseline. If you want to decode the invisible systemic mechanisms that quietly govern your personal balance sheet, secure your daily financial intelligence upgrade. Bypass the cognitive bias of consumer capitalism by subscribing to Economecha right now to optimize your real asset accumulation velocity. To measure the exact magnitude of this hidden financial drain, we must construct a precise 10-year asset velocity simulation model. Consider Profile A, a traditional in-office corporate employee receiving a standardized base salary with fully subsidized healthcare infrastructure and permanent protections. Every single year, this traditional employee benefits from an automated matching 401k match that compounds completely independent of local, regional cost fluctuations. Now look at Profile B, a remote independent contractor who agrees to a severe 25% geographic pay adjustment for lifestyle flexibility. This remote agent must fund their own freelance gig economy tools and localized tax compliance entirely out of their deflated gross revenue. To grasp the true magnitude of this structural drag, we must examine a rigorous 10-year asset velocity simulation comparing these two exact career paths. Profile A enjoys a consistent traditional trajectory where bright green asset pillars grow rapidly through systematic corporate contributions and an institutionalized 401k match. Conversely, Profile B shows recurring cost deductions actively eroding their foundation in real time due to a steep 25% geographic pay adjustment. Over a 10-year period, this invisible asymmetry creates a massive structural gap in terminal net worth that lifestyle savings cannot overcome. By funding independent contractor compliance tools out of pocket, the remote agent sacrifices the vital compounding engine that traditional corporate infrastructure naturally provides. The cognitive bias of geographical arbitrage completely shatters the moment local inflation rates outpace your deflated remote compensation baseline. Independent professionals routinely spend thousands on out-of-pocket international tax planning, further decelerating their true capital accumulation velocity over time. Meanwhile, the corporate enterprise utilizes remote payroll optimization vehicles to capture these exact margins, fortifying institutional equity at your expense. This flawed system structurally ensures that while you absorb 100% of the operational risk, the enterprise retains the premium compounding upside. The long-term reality is a severe degradation of your wealth velocity, leaving you financially exposed despite working identical professional hours. To break free from this corporate architecture, remote professionals must immediately deploy a sophisticated Institutional Arbitrage Protocol to reclaim equity. You must structurally treat your personal remote infrastructure as a completely distinct corporate entity, rather than a standard freelance agent ledger. This scientific method requires you to structurally decouple your primary billing address from your temporary physical location via optimized corporate structures. By utilizing advanced freelance gig economy tools, you can automate tax shielding mechanisms that block corporate payroll algorithms from draining your value. Your first immediate action tomorrow morning is to establish a dedicated, self-funded encrypted asset ledger exclusively for your institutional benefits. You must immediately allocate exactly 15% of gross remote revenue directly into low-cost global index funds before analyzing local living budgets. Turning this wealth allocation into an ironclad environmental default switch completely neutralizes the cognitive bias that causes continuous overspending. By taking direct command of your operational framework, you effectively convert the remote work paradox into a personal wealth-building engine. Do not allow corporate payroll optimization trends to quietly dictate your lifetime value or compromise your long-term wealth accumulation velocity. Real geographic freedom is completely meaningless if your underlying financial architecture remains trapped within an unoptimized, draining corporate mechanism. By shifting institutional depreciation back onto a structured business entity, you insulate your personal ledger from macroeconomic volatility permanently. This strategic pivot allows your compounding retirement runway to expand rapidly, completely independent of regional cost variations or employer policy changes. Secure your long-term economic independence by applying these precise behavioral economics tools to your asset architecture starting this week. Demolish the structural drag, bypass the cognitive errors of the modern gig economy, and take absolute command of your lifetime financial trajectory. Open your encrypted asset ledger tomorrow morning, execute the protocol, and rewrite the rules of your personal balance sheet permanently.